Sally Field, a name that once echoed with the laughter, warmth, and spirit of a woman who defined generations. At 78, her story isn't just one of fame or glory. It's one of courage, heartbreak, and the quiet pain that fame could never hide. If you grew up watching her smile light up the screen, then what you're about to hear will touch your heart in ways you never expected. Because behind every award, every red carpet, and every powerful performance, there was a woman fighting silent battles the world never saw. But before we dive in, if you believe legends like Sally Field deserve to be remembered, honored, and celebrated, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. It's the simplest way to keep their stories alive. Now, let's dive into this heartbreaking yet inspiring journey. Sally Field began her career as America's sweetheart, a young woman whose energy and innocence made millions fall in love with her. From Gidget to the Flying Nun, she was everywhere, radiating joy. But few knew that behind that youthful sparkle was a girl who often felt invisible, unheard, and underestimated. The industry loved her charm, but it didn't respect her depth. They saw her as cute, never serious, never powerful. And that broke her spirit more than anyone knew. Sally wanted to be more than a pretty face in Hollywood. She wanted to tell real stories, to show real pain, to be seen for who she truly was. And so she fought, quietly, fiercely, relentlessly. And when Norma Rae came along, she gave the world a performance that demanded respect. She shouted not just for the women of that story, but for herself. For every woman told she wasn't enough. That Oscar wasn't just a trophy, it was her liberation. But even success came with its shadows. Fame couldn't silence the self-doubt that had followed her since childhood, nor could it erase the loneliness that came from being strong for too long. As the years passed, Sally Field became more private. Her roles grew deeper, her eyes more expressive, carrying the weight of a lifetime of love, loss, and resilience. She lost people she loved, faced heartbreaks that shattered her, and still, somehow, she smiled through it all. At 78, her steps may be slower, but her heart beats just as fiercely as ever. She's spoken openly about aging, about the fear of being forgotten in an industry obsessed with youth. "I've learned to embrace every wrinkle," she once said, "because they're proof that I've lived." But even as she ages gracefully, there's a sadness. The kind that comes when you've given so much of yourself to the world and are left wondering if it truly saw you. Yet, Sally doesn't regret a thing. Every heartbreak, every battle, every sleepless night, they made her who she is, a woman of strength, grace, and unshakable authenticity. And maybe that's what makes her story so moving, because it reminds us that even our heroes hurt, even our icons cry, and even legends grow tired. But they never stop inspiring. So as we honor Sally Field today, let's not remember her just as the smiling face from our childhoods, but as the woman who fought for her place in history, who taught us that true beauty isn't in perfection, but in persistence. Because that's the legacy she leaves behind. Thank you for watching. If Sally's story touched your heart, honor her by subscribing and turning on notifications, because every time you do, you help keep the spirit of these legends alive. As the cameras fade and the applause quiets, Sally Field now walks through her days with a gentle grace that only time and pain can teach. Gone are the flashing lights, the crowded premieres, the endless interviews, And in their place stands a woman who has learned the true cost of a life spent in the spotlight. At 78, she doesn't chase fame, she seeks peace. There's something beautifully haunting about the way she speaks now. Every word soft, deliberate, like a woman who has seen it all and survived it all. You can hear the echoes of heartbreak in her voice, but also strength. The kind that comes from enduring without bitterness. In quiet moments, Sally has reflected on how Hollywood once adored her, then slowly moved on, as it always does. The hardest part, she once said, is realizing that the world you gave everything to will one day forget you. Yet she smiles, because she's learned that what truly matters isn't fame. It's connection. It's meaning, it's legacy. She spends more time with her family now, cherishing laughter around the dinner table more than the sound of applause. She's proud of her sons, proud of the mother she became despite the chaos of her career. But there's a sadness that lingers, the kind that comes from looking back and wondering if you missed the simpler joys while chasing dreams that never fully filled the void. Those who know her say that she carries that sadness quietly, gracefully, as if it's an old friend she's learned to live with. And maybe that's what makes her so relatable, so human. Because we've all had moments when we've given our best to people, places, or dreams that didn't love us back the same way. Sally's story reminds us that it's okay to outgrow your pain, to walk away from what no longer serves you, and to find peace even when the world stops clapping. But still, there's a flicker in her eyes, that same fire that once lit up screens across the world. Because deep down, Sally Field will always be that fighter, that dreamer, that woman who refused to let the world define her worth. And if you're still watching right now, take a second, breathe, and think about what her journey teaches us. That every wrinkle, every scar, every heartbreak, it all means you lived. So before we continue, if you believe her story deserves to be heard by more people, honor her by hitting that subscribe button. And let's keep her legacy alive together. There's a quiet beauty in how Sally Field moves through her days now. She's no longer trying to be the perfect Hollywood star or the flawless leading lady. She's simply being herself, raw, real, and unapologetically human. You might see her at a cafe in Los Angeles, wearing simple clothes, her silver hair catching the afternoon light. No entourage, no spotlight, no performance, just Sally. A woman who has given the world her youth, her talent, and her heart. But there's a certain loneliness that comes with time, even for the greatest among us. Friends fade, faces change, the phone stops ringing as often, and the world moves on to the next new star. Sally has spoken about this shift, that moment when you realize fame doesn't love you back. It's like being in a relationship that was never real, she once said softly. And maybe that's the hardest part of it all, realizing that the applause you once lived for was only ever temporary. But she doesn't live in bitterness. No, Sally found something deeper, purpose. She began using her voice to speak up for women in Hollywood, to challenge ageism, to remind the world that stories don't end when youth fades. And in doing so, she found new meaning in her years, not as the young woman she once was, but as the wise survivor she's become. Still, there are moments, late at night, when she looks back at the roles, the red carpets, the lovers lost, and the memories that feel like distant dreams. And maybe she wonders, as we all do, what might have been if she'd chosen differently. But life isn't about what could have been. It's about what is. And what is for Sally Field is a legacy that time cannot erase. Every tear she shed, every line she spoke, every character she embodied, they live forever. And maybe that's her quiet comfort. She may not be the talk of the town anymore, but her name will never truly fade. Because when you touch hearts, when you leave behind art that makes people feel, you never really disappear. Sally Field's tragedy isn't that she aged or that the spotlight dimmed. It's that the world often forgets the price legends pay for their light. But those of us who remember, we honor her. And as you sit here listening, maybe that's why you're still watching. Because you see something of yourself in her story. The pain, the endurance, the need to be seen for who you really are. And if you do, then take this moment. Hit that subscribe button, drop a heart in the comments for Sally, and let's remind the world that true stars never fade. They simply shine differently. And now, as the years continue to unfold, Sally Field stands as a living testament to what it means to survive in a world that often forgets its heroes. At 78, her life isn't about fame, awards, or recognition anymore. It's about peace. The kind of peace that comes only after walking through decades of storms and finally learning how to dance in the rain. She's not the young girl Hollywood once adored, nor does she want to be. She's the woman who earned every wrinkle, every scar, every lesson. And yet, there's still that same spark in her eyes, the one that tells you she hasn't stopped dreaming. She may have stepped away from the red carpets, but her presence still fills a room with quiet power. She still laughs, still cries, still believes in love, even after losing so much. Her friends say that these days, Sally spends her time surrounded by books, music, and memories. She writes letters to old friends, tends to her garden, and enjoys the gentle rhythm of ordinary life. For someone who lived half her years in the chaos of fame, there's something healing about simplicity. And maybe that's her final act. A reminder that the truest kind of beauty is in authenticity. But sometimes, in rare interviews, you can still sense the ache behind her smile, the bittersweet awareness that time is fleeting, and that fame, no matter how bright, is never eternal. Yet Sally doesn't run from that truth. She embraces it,